Alright, so welcome to my crash course on common law. Armaja's crash course on common law. No. Armaja's crash course on common law. No. Crash course on common law by Armaja. No. Forget it. Alright, so you tweaked in your journalism major and you have to take J4000 or communication law. And if you wanted to take a law class, you would have just been a lawyer and made probably a lot more money, but also been a lot more debt, but it probably would have been worth it. So here you are in my video. Welcome to my study session. So I'm just gonna go over my notes with you and explain in layman's terms of 10 minutes or less the unit. It's like a crash course, but yeah, anywho, so what is common law about? So common law or communications law, the whole course is about what you can or cannot say. And specifically as a journalist, you should probably know these various precedents, court cases, and all this other stuff that pretty much surrounds the whole First Amendment. So in Unit 1, you learn about the speech, like speech. So what is speech? Well, I mean, we know what speech is, like, you know, metaphorically or whatever. Like, you learn that it's, or you know that it's about, you know that speech is about your words and what you say and when you can say it. And everyone knows the First Amendment is like, you can say anything. So that's not necessarily wrong, but that's not necessarily right. So the First Amendment is the government shall make no laws abridging or, you know, saying, nah, you can't say that, on press and freedom of speech. So the First Amendment is a constitutional law, right? Which just means that it's a law made by the Constitution. Is exactly what it says. So there's six, I don't know which one's better for you, 6 types of laws. There's a constitutional law, like the First Amendment. It's outlined by the Constitution. There's there's like statutes. So a statute is usually like maybe like a state law or some type of like bylaws or governing document that the government uses, and they're like, hey, you can't do this, essentially, by our separate entity rules. Right, so an example of a statute is, alright, check this. You're in the state of Missouri, hopefully, probably, if you're taking common law, unless you're just a weirdo that wanted to watch my common law crash course on YouTube. But in Missouri, there's a statute that says that if there's a bull, ram, or boar, or some wild animal just running around, after 3 days, if no one claims it, then you can castrate it. Why you need that? I don't know, but that's a statute. That's an example of a statute. Another type of a law is common law, lower C, common law. So that just means that as cases are being tried every day, that new laws emerge from those cases. Like judges are literally handing down new laws, essentially. So, hypothetically, say a judge decides, oh, almonds make you go crazy. Or or how about this? Almonds are banning, schools can't ban almonds. It's unconstitutional for some reason. For some reason, the school decided we're going to ban almonds because we don't like them or something. And then the judges be like, nope, that's unconstitutional. You can't control what people eat or whatever. From then on, like, you can't control what people eat and therefore you can't ban almonds would be like a precedent or a common law handed down. So like a new law or something like that. Another type of law is administrative law. So that's like government entities that specialize in like a niche area that operate for the betterment of people. Then they like pretty much decide laws. So like the FCC or FDA, something like that, right? So if the FDA, again, are back to our almonds, was like, almonds are a drug, y'all can't use them. That's a law, an administrative law. That kind of comes from there. Another type of law, and you've probably heard this many a times since 2016, many times, is executive order. So executive order is just when the president goes, hey, you there, stop, essentially. Whatever the president says, it's like without, you know, the whole Senate, House type of thing. If the president issues an executive order, then therefore that is a law. I think you have enough examples of that, so I'm gonna continue going forward. So another and final law is the law of equity. Ooh, equity. I like that word. Anyway, so basically it just means that you are utilizing a statute or a law that's previously been determined to right a wrong against you. So, are you ready for your first common law case? So, that was a horrible drum blow. Alright, anyway, so Ali versus Playground. So, Muhammad Ali, yes, the boxer, being a Muslim man, a little bit more conservative, Muhammad Ali was photoshopped onto a half-naked, scantily clad body in the Playgirl magazine. Yeah, that's awkward. Anywho, so, or maybe not Photoshop, maybe just, anyway, they put his head on a body, and that was half naked, and they were like, and he was like, whoa, my right to privacy was violated. What is this? Y'all need to stop. Cease and desist, or I'm taking y'all to court. Basically, essentially, what he said, or not said, issued, statement, whatever. So yeah, so he basically used like these laws of like privacy and everything like that, and all these cases of privacy to get this magazine to retract their issue, which I don't even know why they would do that, but hopefully one day you'll learn about PR. Oh, you've already learned about it, 1100 PR. Anywho, next. So common law, capital C, is like the brick by brick foundation that law is built upon, essentially. So a lot of the cases that you learn upon in the units 1, 2, and 3 are all built upon each other to define speech or define the First Amendment and what we know, and speech and press and all of that stuff. Yes, so it's kind of fun because it's common law, like communication law, and it's common law, big C, and then there's little c, common law. Yeah. So, what does this mean? How far does this go? What can I say? Yeah, I said a lot. So, I defined those 6 types of laws because in the next 10 big concepts that I'm going to share with you, essentially, you're gonna know like, oh snap, these 10 ideas kind of fall under those 6 variants of law. So, let's get started. So the first big overall point, or that you learned kind of, or at least I think I learned, was viewpoint discrimination, which means is that speech, like laws about speech and around the First Amendment, can't favor a viewpoint or another. It comes from Texas v. Johnson. So Texas v. Johnson was a case where this man, Johnson, because you see Johnson is the name in Texas as a state, got it. Johnson decided to burn a flag in Texas, which was illegal. And so he got arrested and he fought it and won because the government decided that you cannot tell people, or you can't make laws about favoring the side of you. So in this instance, Texas favored the law that was like, you can't burn flags because we love America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You as an American have a right to not love America or not be super patriotic or what have you. And so that was a viewpoint pretty much that the Texas government favored. Therefore, the law was unconstitutional. And so Johnson won. W for Johnson. Woo-hoo. So, in real life, the government can't make laws deciding that you have views. So if you, if Missouri decided to make a law that was like any type of bad slander about Beyonce is gonna get nixed, well, the thing about that is they can't do that. So that'd be unconstitutional because it'd be viewpoint discrimination. So, yeah. The next big point I think you learn about is content neutral regulation, which comes from U.S. versus O'Brien. So essentially, this guy burned a draft card, you know, just a regular draft card, got arrested, nothing, something slight, you know. But the government won because here's the thing. It's not about it's not about the views or anything. It's about the idea in general, right? Or what your speech is portraying in general. But not even really that. It's about the time, place, and manner of structure. So how you go about it, manner, the time, like when you decide to do it, and then the place, which we'll go over later on in the rest of my 10 big ideas. But yeah, so it's more of like the content and what you're portraying your speech in. So in this instance, the government didn't necessarily need old O'Brien to be burning his draft card, because it kind of hurt the government. So it's not basically when O'Brien decided to burn the draft card, it sends out like a bigger idea of like anti-government and anti-society, and we don't need that type of speech, because yeah. So it's more about time, place, manner, and if it's really like actually hurting the government, which we get into in our next point. So in relation to the draft and everything, is our third big concept, I believe, is a clear and present danger test, which comes from Schenck, not the knife, but Schenck versus U.S. So in this, Schenck was a German immigrant, and he was passing out anti-draft pamphlets, and the government was like, hey, you gotta relax, no. And they arrested Schenck. And once again, the government won, because this was a clear and present danger. So what does that mean? Because I keep saying it. So pretty much, they're an imminent threat to the government or society, the idea that we know. And two, is there likely to incite? So his pamphlets are pretty much likely to incite, and it would attack the government and the idea and what the government needed to function. So it was a clear and present danger to the government or society as we know it. So yeah, clear and present danger test. Personally, I think that's a little much, but whatever. Anyway, number 4. If we're talking about clear and present danger of government society, then I guess we have to talk about the individual. So 4 and 5 are more about the individual. So number 4, boom, fighting words. So I love this one. Fighting words is essentially like, hey, if you say some wild stuff that could possibly get you beat up, we can't help you, dog. We can't help you. I think that's so funny. So in the case of Chaplinsky versus New Hampshire, there was like a whole like riot or something like that, and a police officer was like standing there, and this like dude called him like a fascist and all this other stuff, yelling like crazy stuff for the time. Like if someone was like, you are wild. So I don't even know what the equivalent would be today. But he was saying some wild stuff that could get him beat up to an officer's face, and he was arrested. And he was like, "This is my First Amendment right. I can say whatever." And they was like, nah. If you are likely to like elicit violence that would make someone naturally react to wanting to fight you, i.e., fighting words, we can't help you. That's your problem. That's a personal problem. I think that's so petty. That's so funny. I can imagine what someone would say to these days. Actually, let's talk about that. Number 5, which is a true threat. So there's 2 prongs to the true threats, which comes from Watts versus U.S. So one prong is if the person feels if a reasonable person will feel threatened by what you said, and if the threat is likely. If somebody feels threatened, and any reasonable person would feel threatened by you, then we can't help you either, G. So, Watts versus U.S., this guy was like, I don't even know what he said, but he was like, I'm gonna hurt the president or something. He threatened the president, essentially, of the United States. And he was arrested. And when it was tried, it was like, he threatened the president, G, like, get him out of here. And they was like, nah, because you see, how would the president feel threatened by him? This little guy? Please. So, Watts got away with it because it wasn't reasonable for people to believe he had the capability of hurting the president. Debatable, my opinion, but that was the case. So, like, say, you threatened, I don't know, Beyonce. I'm gonna have a lot of Beyonce examples in the video, but you'll be fine. So say you threatened Beyonce. If you in little old Missouri and you threaten Beyonce who's in California, ain't nobody tripping off of what you about to say. Most likely, you're not a true threat. But if it's at a Beyonce concert and you maybe have the weapons to do it, that's a reasonable threat. And Beyonce may feel threatened that's a true threat. And probably fits both prongs. And we taking you to jail, because why would you try to hurt Beyonce? Number 6, which is actually kind of cool, because like, I know I've said a lot of like what you can't say and when you can't say, but public forums is kind of nice the concept, at least, of public forums is kind of nice because you learn you can say some stuff. You can say pretty much you want in some areas. Essentially, kind of like the time, place, and manner. This is more of like a place restriction, right? So in public forums, there are 3 types. There is a quintessential or traditional public forum. So at Mizzou's Campus Speakers Circle is a quintessential and traditional public forum, which you know that by now because you're probably like a sophomore, junior, or maybe senior, and you know that there's some wild stuff that happens in Speaker Circle. But it's just basically a place that has no type of restriction, time, place, and manner, none of that. No one can tell you what you can say over there. Then there is the limited public forum. So that's pretty much just any place that's like, sometimes you can say what you want, not all the time, but most of the time you could. And then there's the non-public forum. Look, G, we don't care who you are. You can't do that here. Like, you gotta go, skedaddle type thing. Yeah. So, and then there's also another thing, which is, or another under the sub, and there's another subtopic, which is private property, which is your own property or somewhere that you pretty much should have the expectation of privacy, which is a whole nother thing, whole nother unit. But yeah, private property. Yeah, big idea or big picture is incitement and the heckler's veto, which comes from Brandenburg versus Ohio. Essentially, a KKK leader created a rally, this and that, and he was arrested. And they were like, "Yo, you can't be saying stuff like that." And he was like, "Yes, I can. Freedom of speech." So they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled pretty much that there is the Brandenburg test now, which is there's 2 prongs. 1 is the imminent action, and 2 is it likely to incite. So, like, how likely are they actually to do this, and are they really gonna do it? Like, can they really hurt somebody type thing? So essentially, Brandenburg was teaching the rulings of the KK, teaching the doctrine of the KKK, and although he was saying some, kind of hateful stuff, at the end of the day, was that his goal? Was he trying to incite people? And like, how likely were people to actually be like, yeah, I'm going to do this because he said so? So comes from this whole unit, you also learn about the heckler's veto. The heckler's veto concept is that the government was like, nah, you can't say that because the heckler's veto concept is that the government goes, nah, you can't say that because you're going to create chaos, and we don't need that. And with Brandenburg, he technically really didn't create chaos. Like, that was, if they decided to do whatever, he wasn't actually telling them to do that. So, incitement, heckler's veto, number 7. Then there's number 8, which is indecency. So this is pretty much one of the bigger reasons why you can hear curse words more likely on TV than you are to hear them on the radio and things like that. So there's this act called the Communications Act, which kind of falls under your administrative law type stuff or whatever. And so the FCC and Pacifica, like a radio station, got into a little battle because Pacifica was airing out some like craziness or whatever. They were saying some wild stuff on the radio. And then at the end of the day, what was decided was that if you were on the radio, since it's a scarce and limited resource and uniquely pervasive, or more so that it could kind of like, how do you say, it could be a lot because, it's radio and it's like, yeah. But since the airways are limited and everything, you can't be saying all this craziness on the radio. But you can for broadcast, or not broadcast, I'm sorry, cable. Broadcast and radio, you can't be saying like craziness as much because, we'll take away your stuff because the Communications Act, there's limited space and all this stuff, and you have a unique space where you're pretty, not important, but you're like, we're probably going to move you, so you got to relax. But cable, not do whatever they want, but they don't have as many restrictions. And so the whole idea of indecency is just like things that you would most likely find offensive or something like that, or the standard person would find offensive, which we're going to define in a little second. Alright, I'm back, because my camera died. Alright, so where were we? Number 9, obscenity. So indecency and obscenity are kind of similar, but obscenity is defined as with 3 prongs, right? So actually, back up. Miller versus California. Miller was a guy in California, and he decided to mail porn. He decided to mail subscriptions off, and basically he put some crazy things in some mailboxes and stuff. So he went to court for obscenity, and so from here we have the Miller test, which is defined as one, something that's like creates some type of like itch, like it's kind of just like not grotesque, but just like obviously just offensive, sexual, or like scatological or something. That's the word. Two, something that is likely to offend or in like normal community standards of the time, like contemporary community standards, something that will be like, oh gee, that's a little racy. And then the third prong of the Miller test is if this like racy or if this racy or sexual thing is not educational, scientific, political, or just something that helps society, then it's obscene, right? So yeah, so say you are a, like me, videographer, and you decide to make a sex tape, and distribute it across campus. You can't probably really argue that that is educational, especially if it wasn't assigned. And probably can't argue art. You might be able to argue that it's art, maybe if it's like cinematic or something, but you probably get like some type of vicinity charge. And number 10, we're at my final big concept, I believe, that we learned in Unit 1 in Common Law. And this one applies to you. Yes, you, and me, and you, and me, and you, and me. So we're gonna jump straight into the Tinker test. So Tinker versus, I think it's Des Moines, Iowa, or yeah, something like that. So basically some kids wore boobies braces. I love boobies braces to school. And they were like, that's wild, don't do that, you're in trouble, essentially. Like, and they were like, what, we're just wearing bracelets, etc., etc. So from this whole case battle came like, what exactly can student speech be? So the Tinker test is, if there's not a real disruption to like the educational environment, like does the type of speech like really like shake things up and make like everyone go crazy and cause chaos and everything, if it doesn't do that, then they can do whatever they please. So if you decide to say this semester in your J4000 class, decide to, I don't know, call Dr. Johnson, what would you say about Dr. Johnson? He's so nice. If you say he's too nice and he sucks because he's so nice and you want him to be really mean, why you say that? Or something, and like you go like, you like cause like a frantic chaos and like disruption, and like students can't focus, and did you hear what Monica said? I don't even know, I assume your name's Monica now. Monica said about Dr. Johnson, like then you would fail the Tinker test and probably like be, student speech, can't say that type stuff. Yeah. So another interesting case in here, which you will learn, is your very own University of Missouri got into some little heat. Some heat. They wanted the smoke. Who want the smoke? So Pappas versus the Board of Curators of Missouri or something like that. Basically this, I think it was a girl, created like this like student newspaper, probably a J student. It sounds like some J student type stuff, right? Created a student newspaper and then like said whatever they wanted about whatever. And the Board of Curators is like, we gonna like expel you and yada yada, we don't like what you said, you represented us badly, that's not code of conduct, just basically all the stuff that was like, no, you can't say that. And they went to court and they found in favor of Papish, or girl, right? And Papish, I forget how it's pronounced, sorry, but you'll see in some words, you know what I'm talking about. So this case was like, I think it's kind of tight because it's just like, I mean, I may be a student, but I can kind of say what I want here, and you can't limit, I didn't cause a real disruption, you can't limit my speech, essentially. So Mizzou, or the Board of Curators in Missouri, lost. Those have been my 10 big concept ideas that I believe you learn in Unit 1, but don't forget, in addition, there are like the 6 types of laws that kind of fall under this whole like communication law spectrum. So if you really want to be like a thug, I know I gave you one with the administrative law with FCC and person specific, but if you really want to be a thug, I challenge you to watch this video and know like the 6 laws, and then figure out where some of those cases fall, and just kind of figure out where those concepts fall, right? So with that being said, good luck. I believe in you. Come on, ain't that bad. Dr. Johnson's pretty cool. If Dr. Johnson's still teaching it, if not, yikes, good luck. Yeah, you'll be fine. Just go to class. Honestly, go to class. Go to class. Yeah. Let me know how it goes.